All right, raise your hands and I will get you the mic.
John, with how that came together late, what did you make of those late innings and then eventually building up to Addison's moment there?
I mean, huge stuff from Braden Fisher. Again, runner at second, it's really tough to strand not only once but twice, and he made big pitch after big pitch. So that stands out. Lukey's bunt stands out, and I don't think he was quite trying to do it that way. But just a big AB from Barge. I think today it felt like our lineup was a little bit deeper. As you went down, and you like your chances there. So at bats are tough on both sides, and I think everyone kind of wants to end the game. And great swing by Barge.
Addison's at bat before that, he had the bat snap over the knee, and then he appeared to calm down maybe slightly into the final at bat. Is that kind of the full package of him there?
Yeah, full send. The throw, couple hits, bat over the knee, bam Barger. That's kind of him in a nutshell.
Talk about Estrada. What a major league debut.
That's 2 this year between him and Paxton Schultz coming in and looking like they've been here for a while. I think. Looking at Laz, and last year kind of came on the radar a little bit, and then spring training, he's got a very similar demeanor to Fisher, to where it looks like he's been here for a long time. So he kind of knew the assignment coming in, and the way that he pitched was outstanding. Just the one run there on the RBI single, but I was really impressed with how he was kind of operating in between innings. How he was coming off the mound, how he executed. That's you need days like that. You know what I mean? When you're in the middle of 16 in a row from I feel like I say it every night. It's kind of a different guy every night. You're using everybody. So unbelievable debut for him.
George does it again today with the power, but it's also other little things too. If you could talk about in the 11th 1-1 pitch, a slider low and away that he chased a lot last year, and
yeah,
it was a great at bat.
Yeah, I think putting his season kind of in a nutshell compared to last year is he's not chasing, and the difference between last year and this year is pitches that he's offering, he's squaring them up. You know what I mean? Unbelievable play by Newman. Basically caught it behind him, and George has been he's on a little bit of a heater right now, which he can do, but he's just been so consistent. So. The homer there, dead center. You look up, it's a 97-mile-an-hour sinker. He hits at 109, dead center. And you look at what that result would have been last year. It might have been a little bit different, right? So he's been so good. He's been so big for us the past couple of weeks, and kind of still showing the league that he can do this kind of stuff. I think he should be an American League All-Star, no doubt.
John, you mentioned sort of George there, obviously, and the lineup felt longer. Just how does that play with sort of moving Bo to 4 and doing something different at leadoff, keeping George at 2, and is that something you want to give a bit of a run to?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think so. I mean, it's different righty lefty, right? Lefty tomorrow, but a couple times today, you want Bo up in those spots with runners at second or bases loaded, whatever it is. More times than not, he's going to put the ball in play and hit it hard. So we'll see. It's something we've been talking about for a little bit. I've talked to Bo about it. It's what I love about this group is no one cares where they hit. You know what I mean? Honestly, a couple of years ago, you kind of feel pigeonholed into putting guys in certain spots. It's not the case this year. You know what I mean? So I'm sure you guys have talked to Bo about it, and he was awesome today. I think everyone kind of feels what this team can do when you're kind of playing in unison, and they're all on board. So we'll look at it, yeah, for sure, and kind of see how we roll it out. But if you have Alejandro Kirk hitting 6, you're in a pretty damn good spot.
With Braden, that's 5 outings in 8 days. He's almost like at a starter's pitch count now over that span. Just for you, how much is he telling you I can go? And then when you get the second inning out of him, was that planned, or does he come back to the dugout and goes, I've got another one in it?
Yeah, it wasn't planned today, and I think the 10-pitch first inning, led us to ask the question, how do you feel? And his response was, I feel great. So you trust that, you know what I mean? I think if he had a different way about him and didn't communicate the way he does with Pete and myself, you kind of second guess it. But our thought was, okay, you get him, you get to the Jansen inning, and then you get Fish there, and you kind of give it one more shot and before you turn it over to Pena. So he answered the bell, man. You know, we'll give him a blow here. You know, he's earned that for sure, and he's been so good. You know, he doesn't really mind the situation that he's put in, and just continues to make pitches.
On those guys like Fisher, Barger, Estrada, none of them were on the opening day roster, and they're kind of all heroes tonight. Like, what does that say about where you guys are at right now?
I think it's our depth is really good, and I think that the standard and the culture that we've set here in that room rubs off on other people. So it's not always like that. It really isn't. You know, there's times where guys come up and they're kind of lost. They're kind of wandering a little bit, and I think that welcoming people is a big thing, and guys are going out of their way to do that. So you're going to need a lot of people, man. You're going to need 40 out of your 40-man roster over the course of the year, and sometimes 26 on a given day. And you know, it kind of feels like we're in that right now, but it's nice. It's a fulfilling feeling for me, for the staff, and I'm sure for the guys.
Feels a while ago now, but what did you see in Max? And then did he come out?
Oh, yeah, he
normally
pitched
there?
today. I thought he was. I mean, minus the walks, you know, a couple, you know, close pitches. You know, Addy kind of bails him out there with that great throw. I thought he was good. Stuff looked normal. Again, you know, I liked that with the pitch count was similar to his last outing on regular rest, and he came in after the third, say, "Hey, I'm feeling good." It's going to be like that sometimes with him. You know, I think kind of getting him through the break is going to be big for us, and kind of, you know, allow him to reset a little bit along with other guys. But I thought his stuff was good. There were some really close pitches that could have went either way too, that could have swung a run here and there. But you know, he felt good after it. You know, and again with him, every time it's just kind of how he responds in between. But I thought he, you know, gave us everything that he had today.
With Estrada, I know you were obviously, your depth was not deep today as far as pitching went, but to have a guy making his major league debut in a one-run game and then a tie game and have nobody up behind him in the seventh and in the eighth, what was the balance between how he was pitching and how much you had behind him?
Very delicate. You know, he knew kind of what was going on, right? So we were kind of walking the tightrope between score, pitch count. I mean, he had a full pitch count. He could throw 90 pitches, you know, but it's you're kind of figuring out when to take a shot, when to not take a shot, right? So you take a shot with Fish at the top after Laz had done his job, really, and you don't get it done offensively. You take another shot with Fish and you get it done. So you're kind of, I don't want to say you're rolling dice a little, you know, but we knew that once Max was done, you kind of had Nick there to be a little bit of a fireman. And then turn it over to Laz, and he knew that, and he responded great.
What happened to Yimmy? When did he hurt the ankle?
Yeah, it was after his first outing back against New York. He actually slipped getting in the hot cold tubs, which is just bad luck. You know what I mean? We have everything anyone could ever want to recover, and it's just bad luck. You know, so he felt a little bit off yesterday, see how he was today. He was out playing catch, and it's his land foot, you know, so it wasn't exactly great. So we'll get an MRI and see what's going on. Hopefully you can kind of just give him a blow through the break, and he's back quickly, you know, thereafter. So just bad luck.
So does having the break make the decision to put him on the IL easier because those 4 days don't count?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I think that you never want to not have him in your bullpen, you know. So I think having that break made it a little bit easier to do that, to IL him, and hopefully guys can continue to step up.
What happened with the Leo at bat there?
Yeah, I don't look at the clock anymore. We're a couple years into it, and I had to go back and actually call Cheese and make sure that it was the right call. He was just making sure the bunt was still on with 2 strikes, and had his head down at about 6 seconds. So umpires get buzzed. You know, I think umpires are at the point to where they don't want to do that, you know, in a big spot, but you got to play by the rules. So I think he kind of just lost track of where the clock was.
Gotcha. Bullpen wise, are you able to share who was not available? It seemed like some of your big guys were not available today.
Yeah. Hoff was down, Yariel was down, Chad was down, Little was down, and Estrada and Fish and Sandlin were awesome.
John, you said of Max that he gave you everything he had. I guess you're saying by that there was you had no interest in putting him out there for any more than you had.
I think minus the walks, you could probably do it, and you kind of build off a last outing. So again, every outing will kind of be dictated on how efficient he is and how he's feeling. So it's hard to do what he's doing. I will say that, to come off the IL, a couple starts, and you're on regular rest, and you're 41 years old. You know what I mean? And you can say that about all of our starters. So we want to be extra careful with him. I know I've pushed Chris. I feel a little bit better, obviously, pushing Kev and Jose. And even Eric in those spots. But I think with Max, we have to do everything we can to keep him, ready to pitch for the rest of the season. So by saying everything he had, I thought his stuff was really good. I thought his stuff was normal. And I just didn't want to get into a point where you send him back out there and he's up around 85, 90 pitches or something like that, and you set him back. So that was kind of the thinking.
Further to that, is it a thought at all, given how things went down today, that maybe Estrada gets a start on that road trip next week to push everybody, even with the break coming?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think that, just in talking to Max when he was done, I feel like we both agreed that today was the right way to do it, looking ahead to his next start. So if that's the case, that's 4 days down the road. We'll see. But we're always going to kind of err on the side of how Hall of Famer Max Scherzer's doing, and if he's good, he's out there.
I know the game just ended. Any word back on Jimenez's MRI?
No, nothing conclusive yet. Still trying to work our way through it. You guys probably saw him. He was wearing a boot today, just to try to take some pressure off of it. So we'll probably have more tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.